Okay, so these are the 4 diamond burrs from Mastercarver, and they're rated at 150 grit. And you can sort of see there's 4 different shapes. We've got the common flame burr there, and this pointed one, and then sort of like an inverted cone, and just a sort of like a flat one there. Now, I don't use these 2 as often as these 2. I do use them on occasions, but these 2 I find really, really good, especially this flame one for sort of like finishing off sort of carvings, and this one for sort of like details and putting in lines and tidying up as well. And so I'm just going to show you sort of like how I use these. And when you're a beginner, you kind of think these are just used sort of like to smooth out the carvings after you've finished, but they're also, if you're using softer woods, they're also very good for putting in sort of like smaller details around the eyes and all of that as well. Now, when it comes to speeds on these, I don't like to burn wood. I tend to like to sort of use the burr to take away wood, not to burn it. So what I will do if it starts to burn is I will lower the speed of the Dremel. Now, the softer the wood, the faster you could probably run the Dremel without it burning. Once you start getting the harder woods, you're going to start burning your burrs as well as the wood. So that actually kind of damages the burrs, so especially the diamond ones. And diamond burrs are just, well, fragments of diamond that has been connected to the stainless steel. And the really good thing about these burrs is you can sort of like get into really tight areas. So sort of like in the eyeball there and all of that kind of stuff. And I use them in some circumstances to round off the eyeball. You know how you want the eyeball to sort of like be a sphere as opposed to sort of like an oval.
And here we go, we are using the tip of the burr. You can sort of see I put a red circle around that part that I'm using. So using that flat bit at the tip and sort of just smoothing out the surface of the pupil, just gradually and just really, really softly on the surface. It's really, really good for that. And you can put a bit of pressure on the inside of the eye and you can sort of round it off a bit.
Let's put in, now you can do this with a lot of different burrs. You could use sort of like a wheel point burr from Dremel. I might talk about that at another time, and go under the eye like that. Or you could use a pointed burr like this and go under like that. We could even use maybe this one and use a point on that one. So there's always lots of different burrs you can use. But say if we were using this one, what we want to do is we want to go in, and the idea is to put sort of like a more of a defined channel under there. I don't want to go in with just the point. I want to sort of like maybe use maybe about that much of the burr, sort of just at the end. I hope it's focusing. And sort of like pull it through the wood going like that, because if you start pointing it like this, it's going to leave jagged edges.
So here we go, you can sort of see me pulling it through the wood and sort of just doing it quite lightly and just putting it along. I just kind of try and show you what happens if you just point it into the wood. Not great camera work there, sorry. Sort of going a little bit off there. Okay, so let's just point it in now. And it's quite finicky. You can do it. But it's sort of like, because you're pulling through sort of the grain of the wood, so it'll jump around. Whereas if you sort of like, as we were doing before, it sort of like it goes over the grains of wood.
Okay, so what you can also do is really use that tip of the burr for really, really fine details. You might be sort of wanting maybe to get into the eye pupil there. See, it's a little bit messy up just on that top bit there. So we can tidy that up. But you want to sort of like grasp your carving, maybe, hang on a second. Grasp the carving like this, maybe have your hand on this part of the carving. It's really carving really fine details, all about stabilization of the hands. So then we're sort of like we don't have much movement here. Whereas if you're carving like this, your hand is going to be all over the place, and that's not great for fine details. So let's do that. We'll try and get so you can see the pupil.
And you can sort of see I'm not sort of going really deep into the carving. I'm sort of like taking little bits off at a time, just trying to get that circle a little bit more smooth. So I'm not sort of like really powering it in or going in that aggressively. And it's just a matter of just lightly going over the surface until you're happy with what you've got. I think that looks pretty good.
Show you a bit of a close-up there. So yeah, it's really good for general tidy up. And what I'll show you here too is, I believe these burrs are very, very high quality. Now, I have got lots of different burrs, lower quality ones. You can sort of see, where's a good example, sort of on this one, falling out there. Yeah, so, you know, I'm not going to put these down, but like, you can just sort of see the structure of these are a little bit more uniform, I guess, as opposed to the surface of those. And also, I think these are longer lasting. That's in my opinion anyway. And with all of these, if you use them on hardwood and you're pressing really hard and burning them, you're going to wear them out faster. So if you just use these for sort of on hardwood, if you're going to use them on hardwood, what you use them for is just sanding off the final finish. But on softer woods, you can sort of like sculpturally carve with them, just sort of like smaller lines and all of that kind of stuff. I'll show you on one of these.
Okay, so we'll just have a little bit of a muck around with this one, and you can sort of see me, I'm putting in a line there, so sort of dragging it through as well. Sometimes with lines, I'll go back over and try and take the line out a little bit so it looks a little bit more natural. Let's take out that pen mark. Maybe I'll just, it's really good. I start sentences, but I don't finish them. I know, I'm sorry about that. Okay, so it's really good for just smoothing off skin and putting in sort of bags under the eyes as well. It's kind of like using your flame burr, but for minute details, if I could say that. So you can sort of see there, I'm sort of like going a little bit under with the pointy bit of it. Just using the surface of the burr there just to smooth out the skin. It's not great for sort of like really, really fine details. You kind of want to go back to that pointy one that we were using before. So if you want to spend a little bit more money buying a good set of burrs, I would thoroughly recommend this set from Mastercarver. I think it's a really nice set to have, especially those two on the left. I think, you know, the grit's really, really uniform. The shank is very, very well made and straight and true, and they are very long lasting. Now, I'm not affiliated with them and I'm not sponsored by them, so really I'm just telling you this because I think, well, I just want to show you what a good set of diamond burrs look like. And you might be seeing there that I'm not actually carving with them. In the next video, I'm going to have a look at this burr here. And this is the Dremel wheel point burr. It's another slightly more expensive burr, but it's a really good one. Mushroom on the stump, mushroom on the stump.